Have you ever sat down with an older friend or family member who moved into a retirement home, only to hear them speak in hushed tones about the unexpected challenges they faced? You might think that once the decision is made, life becomes simpler. Meals prepared, housekeeping handled, and medical help just steps away. But the stories many seniors share behind closed doors tell a very different tale. One where reality fails to match the glossy brochures. If you're even remotely thinking about moving into a retirement home or assisting a loved one with this decision, it's vital to understand the hidden truths before signing any paperwork. What seems like a dream setup can quickly become a situation that leaves you feeling trapped and filled with regret. Stay with me until the end because we're uncovering 6 key truths that many seniors wish they had known before they handed over the keys to their old lives. Take Margaret, who was excited about finally leaving behind the responsibilities of maintaining her 3-bedroom house. She looked forward to letting someone else handle the cooking, cleaning, and yard work. It sounded like a well-deserved break after decades of raising children, supporting her husband's career, and keeping a busy household afloat. The glossy tour of her chosen retirement community promised daily activities, round-the-clock nursing staff, and a vibrant social life with like-minded residents. Yet just a few months in, Margaret found herself feeling lonelier than ever. She noticed that the round-the-clock staff seemed constantly stretched thin, and instead of forging deeper bonds with new friends, she ended up spending most days alone in her small room. It wasn't the welcoming environment she'd pictured. The first hidden truth many seniors discover too late is that moving into a retirement home can mean forfeiting more personal independence than anticipated. It's one thing to have someone cook your meals and tidy up, but it's another to lose the freedom to decide when and how you go about simple tasks. Many retirement homes have set schedules, fixed times for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, designated days for laundry, certain hours when the common areas are open, and even rules about who can visit or how late visitors can stay. If you're someone who enjoys spontaneously baking cookies at 10 at night or deciding at the last minute to go for a walk under the stars, you might discover that these small freedoms become restricted. Some seniors adapt well to the structure, especially if they no longer want the hassle of daily chores, but others feel like they're back in high school with a curfew. You realize how precious it was to decide for yourself, in your own home, how you spent each hour. It's not that all retirement homes are prison-like, but the more regulated environment can hit you hard if you've spent decades living life on your own terms. You might assume that retirement homes guarantee a built-in community brimming with social activities, and in some cases this is true. But the second hidden truth is that the social atmosphere often doesn't match the brochure's rosy depiction. Some facilities advertise daily events like bingo nights, fitness classes, and even group outings, but fail to mention that attendance can be low, that cliques sometimes form among residents, and that the staff may not always be available to facilitate real engagement. A 90-year-old woman named Louise moved in thinking she'd make plenty of friends. She loved the idea of group meals and morning coffee with neighbors, but she found that many residents stuck to themselves or were too frail to participate, which left Louise feeling isolated and disappointed. Staff turnover can also affect the sense of continuity. One month you might bond with a friendly activities coordinator, and the next month they're gone, replaced by someone who's merely clocking in hours. Over time, some seniors discover they're lonelier in a crowded facility than they ever were living alone. The truth is that a structured schedule of events doesn't automatically translate into real companionship. This can be especially jarring if you move in expecting a vibrant social calendar, only to realize the reality is more subdued or even stale. Another tricky aspect that doesn't always come to light until after you're settled is the real cost involved. You might see an initial price tag and think it covers everything, but many seniors find out there's a myriad of hidden fees once they're already in. That's the third hidden truth. It's not just the monthly rent or the basic service package. There can be extra charges for housekeeping beyond the bare minimum, for certain medical assistance or specialized care, for social outings that aren't included in the standard activities, and even for simple amenities you assumed would be free, like Wi-Fi or television service. And each year, fees often rise. Edna, who's 82, found herself in a bind when the cost of her retirement home jumped by a double-digit percentage in just 1 year. She had planned her budget around a fixed rate only to discover that her savings might not last if the fees kept increasing at that pace. She felt blindsided. Paying more than expected can create a gnawing sense of insecurity, particularly if you're on a fixed income or your nest egg has limits. Many seniors wish they had done more thorough research, including reading the fine print, talking to current residents, and asking pointed questions about potential rate hikes or extra fees. By the time you realize your costs are skyrocketing, you might be too settled or lack the energy to relocate again, leaving you feeling financially trapped. The fourth hidden truth is the emotional toll that moving into a retirement home can take. This is a side effect rarely mentioned on tours. Giving up your house, the place that has so many memories woven into its walls, can be more traumatic than you expect. You might initially feel excitement or relief at shedding responsibilities, but the underlying grief of losing a space that was genuinely your own can creep up on you in surprising ways. The bed you used to share with a spouse who has passed on, the kitchen table where your kids once did their homework. These sentimental attachments don't fade just because you made a logical decision to move. Ruth, a widow who moved in just after her 75th birthday, said she'd cry at odd moments. She'd catch a glimpse of something that reminded her of home, a piece of furniture or a particular view, and a wave of sadness would come over her. Staff often don't have the capacity to offer extensive emotional support. Friends and family might assume you're better off now, so they might not be prepared to deal with your nostalgia. This sense of displacement can lead to depression, anxiety, or a feeling of being uprooted. For some seniors, it's a passing phase, but for others, it lingers. The brochures and sales reps highlight the convenience and lifestyle perks, but they rarely talk about how heavy the emotional load can be once the honeymoon phase ends. There's also a side to retirement home living that can affect your relationship with family, and that's the fifth hidden truth. Moving into a facility can sometimes shift family dynamics in unexpected ways. Adult children might think they're doing you a favor by encouraging the move, believing it reduces their sense of responsibility for your day-to-day needs. But this can lead to fewer visits, less consistent communication, and an overall impression that they think you're taken care of, so they don't need to check in as often. You might have moved thinking it would free your children from worry, but you could end up missing the closeness you once shared. Alternatively, some families remain overly involved, micromanaging your new life from a distance, which can feel invasive. Lisa, a 78-year-old living in a community she chose partly to be near her children's homes, found it disconcerting that her son almost never came by anymore. He'd say, "Well, I know you're safe there, so I don't need to worry." While Lisa appreciated not being a burden, she missed the spontaneity of visits and the small daily connections they used to share. In this way, a retirement home can inadvertently drive a wedge in family relationships, leaving you feeling unmoored from the people you love most. The sixth hidden truth that often catches seniors off guard is how difficult it can be to leave once you're in. You might assume if it doesn't work out, you can simply move again, but the reality can be more complicated. By the time someone moves into a retirement home, they've likely sold their original house or given up a long-time rental. They've downsized, parted with furniture, keepsakes, and other possessions to fit into a smaller space. Starting over again, finding a new place, packing and unpacking and adjusting to another environment can be emotionally and physically draining. On top of that, some retirement homes have contracts or clauses about breaking a lease, which can mean you lose a substantial deposit or have to pay fees. Your health might also decline while you're there, making a move even harder. Fred, who entered a retirement home at 80, realized within a few months it wasn't what he had hoped. He longed for more independence and disliked the regimented mealtimes. But he'd already sold his house, his wife had passed away, and his children lived in another state. The thought of orchestrating another big move felt so overwhelming that he stayed put. Over time, he made the best of it, but he always felt regret, wishing he had tried a different approach, like in-home care or a smaller apartment in a senior-friendly complex. Once you're in, the inertia can become tremendous, and many seniors end up resigning themselves to a setting that doesn't truly suit them. Now, what can you do if you're at that point where a retirement home seems like the logical next step? The most important thing is to gather complete information, not just from the sales tour. Talk to current residents, especially those who don't seem to be on the official welcome committee. Ask them pointed questions. What are your biggest frustrations here? Do you feel like staff respond quickly when you need help? How is the food really? Is management open to feedback? Find out what services are included in your monthly fees and which ones cost extra. Does the monthly fee go up each year, and by how much on average? Are you allowed to have visitors stay overnight? Are there restrictions on personalizing your room or your schedule? It's also wise to consider alternative options before you commit. Many seniors who don't require extensive medical care manage well in independent living communities that are more apartment-like, with optional add-on services. Others find that assisted living at home, where care comes to them, offers the best of both worlds, help with daily tasks while maintaining a sense of independence and familiarity with their home environment. This can often be customized to your exact needs. It might cost more in some cases, but it can be financially comparable to a retirement facility once all the hidden fees are accounted for. Then there are co-housing setups, or moving in with family, each with its own pros and cons. The key is to weigh these options carefully and think about the emotional cost, not just the financial one. That might include what it means to leave behind the house you love, or how it will affect your sense of community and family. Retirement homes can indeed be a blessing for many. If you have significant health issues, mobility challenges, or simply no longer want the burden of maintaining a home, then living in a place where medical staff is readily available and daily chores are handled might be the relief you need. Some communities truly deliver on their promises, fostering strong social bonds and offering top-notch care. The trick is differentiating those from the ones that only look good on paper. Many seniors have found fulfillment and friendships in these environments, especially if they are proactive about joining activities and forging connections. It's also worth noting that staff can vary widely. You might get lucky and land in a place with highly dedicated employees who treat residents like family. But you should know in advance that not every facility lives up to that ideal. Some are understaffed, and the workers, no matter how well-meaning, end up burnt out, which directly impacts resident care and satisfaction. The regret that often emerges revolves around not having seen the full picture soon enough. The commercials and brochures talk about state-of-the-art gyms, cozy libraries, beautifully landscaped grounds, and endless entertainment. In reality, these amenities might only be accessible or enjoyable if you're physically able and if the staff has the time and resources to facilitate their use. You could discover that the gym equipment is outdated, or that the library is just a small shelf of worn paperbacks. Or you might find that group outings are canceled more often than not. Reading genuine reviews, looking beyond the marketing gloss, and talking to families who already have loved ones in the facility can go a long way in painting a more accurate picture. For those who have already moved in and are experiencing these hidden truths, it's never too late to try to improve the situation. You can speak with the facility's management about concerns, gather fellow residents to request changes, and keep lines of communication open with your family so they understand what you're dealing with. If the food is repetitive or lacking nutrients, banding together with other residents to voice that complaint can lead to actual menu improvements. If staff response times are slow, bringing it up at resident meetings can sometimes pressure management to hire more personnel or adjust protocols. You might not solve every issue, but by advocating for yourself, you may at least alleviate some of the stress or negativity in your new environment. And if there's no improvement, you'll know you did what you could, making any future decision whether to stick it out or move on, based on a clear-eyed assessment of the situation. Perhaps the biggest lesson seniors often wish they'd grasped sooner is the importance of visiting a potential retirement home multiple times before deciding. One short tour can give a misleading snapshot. Try visiting on different days at different times. See how the residents interact, observe staff behavior, taste the food, chat with people who seem genuinely open about their experiences. If possible, stay for a meal or two to see if the dining hall atmosphere suits your tastes. Check whether residents look bored or genuinely engaged. Is there a sense of warmth, or does the environment feel sterile and institutional? It's easy to be swayed by a single enthusiastic guide or a polished presentation, but your daily life in that place will rarely reflect those few hours perfectly. A thorough investigation can help you avoid an unwelcome surprise down the line. Another factor to consider is how your needs may change in the future. Some retirement homes offer a continuum of care, independent living, assisted living, and nursing home care all in one place, while others are more limited. If you currently don't need much medical attention but might in the near future, is there a system in place so you won't have to move again if your health declines? These questions can be critical. Many seniors regret not thinking several steps ahead, especially if a small but chronic medical condition worsens. Then they discover the facility isn't equipped to handle that condition, forcing yet another relocation. If you're hearing these stories and feeling a mix of concern and relief that you're better prepared, that's the goal. Moving into a retirement home can be a positive step in the right circumstances, but it's a decision that demands caution, research, and a realistic view of what life will be like within those walls. By understanding the hidden truths, the potential loss of independence, the sometimes less than ideal social life, the surprise fees, the emotional strain, the family dynamic shifts, and the difficulty of leaving once you're in, you can make a more informed choice. It's also crucial to keep communication open with the people who matter to you. Talk with your family about your apprehensions and your hopes. Talk to your friends who have made similar transitions. The best time to have these conversations is before you sign any contracts. Share your findings, your questions, and your doubts so you aren't navigating this big life change alone. And if a facility doesn't feel right from the start, trust your gut. There's no shame in walking away if something feels off, even if the sales pitch is persuasive. After all, your comfort and well-being are at stake. As you weigh your options, remember that you have choices. Don't let fear of aging or a desire to simplify your life rush you into a decision that might not serve you long-term. The marketing around retirement homes can be powerful, painting a rosy picture of easy living. Yet once the excitement fades, the day-to-day reality sets in. If it's not a good fit, you may discover yourself stuck in a loop of frustration or loneliness. By knowing the potential pitfalls ahead of time, you can plan accordingly. Whether that means picking a different type of senior living arrangement or ensuring you've done your homework on the particular home you choose. Above all, never forget your own agency in this process. You've spent a lifetime making decisions, building relationships, and learning what works for you. Don't give that up lightly. Yes, age might bring new challenges, but it also offers wisdom and insight that can guide you through these transitions more thoughtfully. The real nightmare emerges only when seniors feel they've lost their voice and are at the mercy of a system or a facility that doesn't truly align with their needs or values. Wherever you find yourself in this journey, I hope these insights help you see beyond the brochures and the friendly sales tours. Whether you ultimately decide a retirement home is right for you or you explore other avenues, let your choice be one informed by reality rather than illusions. If this video resonates with you, share it with someone who might also be on the fence about such a move. Honest conversations can protect a loved one or yourself from ending up in a situation that feels more like a nightmare than a retirement dream. Always remember that while aging is inevitable, the way we navigate it can still be shaped by our own wisdom and determination. Take care, and may your future be filled with peace, autonomy, and the companionship that truly enriches the years ahead.